this time. Okay.
Morning. It's time to start our meeting. And if you could join us stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the Thursday, May 22nd, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. I'm going to take a minute and introduce those on this end of the room. To our far left is Jenny Chambers, Director of Public Works and Planning. Brandy Grandy is our recording secretary, gets everything up on the website so that people know what we've accomplished during our meeting, and keeps track of it all takes care of all the minutes. Commissioner Andy Hunthausen and Commissioner Candace Payne. I'm Commissioner Tom Rolfe, Chair of the Commission for this year. TJ Murphy is our representative from the County Attorney's Office. Roger Baltz is our Chief Administrative Officer. And we're going to make a little change on the order of things. This morning, action items 4H and I, which are the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, and the amendment number 2 to the task order number 3 between Lewis and Clark County and Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. I'm going to move those two items up if we can to be right after the elected officials update. And we understand that action item 4B, we need to move that over to June 2nd. I will offer an opportunity for people to, if anyone is here to talk about that, we will we'll make a motion when we get down to that item and move it onto the June 2nd meeting, and offer an opportunity for people to speak since it's been announced for today. We do have a sign-up sheet on the other side of the bar. We ask that you sign up and leave us your information and contact information so that we can get back to you if we need to. And so I think we'll go ahead now. We have consent action items. Roger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You have 2 to consider today. Item 3A is vendor claims report for the week ending May 22nd, 2026. Staff recommends approval of that item. You also have item 3B, which is resolution 2026-37, to authorize the county attorney to employ special counsel to assist in prosecution of CR-515-2026-267, and staff recommends approval of that item as well. Thank you, Commissioners.
Commissioners, do you have a question on the consent action items? Any questions on the consent action items? Is there any public comment on them? Any public comment? Seeing no public comment, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve consent action items 3A and B as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the commission?
Mr. Chair, just a comment. She'll love this. Marni Bentley, who is in charge of our vendor claim report, and she has been for many years. I don't want to say too many manys, but Marni is going to be graduating from work, and I just wanted to point her out and express my gratitude for her many years of service to Lewis and Clark County and the people of Lewis and Clark County. She has done an outstanding job, and we will miss you, Marni. So miss you sitting there and giving you a hard time as well when I come by your office. So
I want to second those comments, and I really appreciate the your diligence in the way you've handled your job as long as I've been around here, and you've been here much before I got here, and your attention to detail. Thank you for all you have done over the years for Lewis and Clark County.
And I would like to add mine to that, Marni. You are a light. As we go by your office, it's always great to see you in there, and you are such a detail-oriented person. And I thank you for all you've done for us and answering all my questions clearly and simply. So thank you, and good luck in whatever it is you're wandering off for.
All right. We have any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve consent action items 3A and B as presented by Mr. Balls. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. This morning we have a special presentation from Lieutenant Colonel Mayer from Malmstrom, and he's going to tell us about the Sentinel project that's coming up. Lieutenant Colonel Mayer, come on up if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself so that we have it on the record, and tell us about what's happening with all those missiles out there. Is that turned on green? There we go.
There we go. Thank you very much for having me this morning. I appreciate your time and the interest for Lewis and Clark County. I'm Lieutenant Colonel John Mayer. I'm the commander of the Air Force Global Strike Command Sentinel Detachment 11. It's a mouthful. It's a small organization at Malmstrom Air Force Base. We're about 25 people, about a year old, growing quickly. And my job is to get Sentinel, our new ICBM, deployed successfully to Montana, get the community ready for it, facilitate a lot of communication. It's a massive project, and so there's a lot of challenges and going to be a lot of impact, and hopefully it's for good. So we're trying to lay the groundwork in advance so that the impact on the communities, on the counties is really positive in the end. I have been in Great Falls at Malmstrom for a long time, a total of 11 years, I think, on 2 visits. Plan on retiring there soon. My parents live in town. 2 of my kids were born in Great Falls, so very much consider myself a member of the community. I will be around working on Sentinel, probably not wearing this uniform for too much longer, but very much care about the state and the residents of the community. So Sentinel is the name of our new ICBM system. It's replacing the Minuteman III that has been online in Montana, where it was first online since 1962, was Minuteman I actually. So Malmstrom Air Force Base brought its first ICBM online in the midst of the Cuban Missile Crisis. John F. Kennedy referred to us as his ace in the hole in negotiation with Khrushchev. I was premier. I'm not sure of the title, but Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So we're really proud of that heritage. We've had something online providing nuclear deterrence every day since October of 1962. And Sentinel is what is going to give us that capability for the nation all the way through 2075 is what we're planning for it now. It's evolved over the years. It's been in planning for a long time. So what we have now is 100% replacement for everything. So we're replacing the concrete. We're actually drilling new silos on the existing land that we own in most cases. So it is a new missile. It's new vehicles. It's all new from beginning to end. And that carries an absolutely massive, complex burden of construction and land surveys and land acquisition in some places. So I'll talk through a few of those details and then stick around for whatever questions you have. One of the important public-facing documents is the environmental impact statement that was signed in 2023. And so that's actually fairly old in terms of this program. So we need to update it with some of the changes that have been incorporated into the design. So you and the constituents of Lewis and Clark County can expect to see a supplemental environmental impact statement coming out probably this summer. And it's going to incorporate a lot of the changes that we have updated for the design. So some of those changes I mentioned, one of them is drilling new holes. I can go into the reasons why if you would like, if anyone is curious, but turns out it's both cheaper, more predictable, and more efficient to drill new holes on the existing plots of land rather than trying to renovate concrete and infrastructure and rebar that has been in place for 63 years at this point. So we're drilling new holes is important for the environmental impact. So for the active sites, which is what you have in Lewis and Clark County, those are about 2 acres. In the end, we're going to need about 3 acres. So we'll be reaching out for land, excuse me, I said 3, adding 3 for about 5 acres. So we'll be reaching out to those landowners probably later this year to survey the land, and then we'll be back early next year to start acquiring that land because we need a bigger footprint for the weapon system long-term and also the construction over the years it takes to remove all of the old Minuteman stuff and install the new infrastructure. Another change is the reactivation of a deactivated squadron northwest of Great Falls. So it's outside of this county, but in Toole, Pend Oreille, north of the 12th Missile Squadron is what you guys have down here. It was deactivated in 2008, but the Air Force still owns the land. So there's 55 plots of land up there that we're going to be reusing because we've done the environmental survey from back in the day. We know that it's a good environment. It's a known quantity. We've got relationships with the landowners and we already own it. So in Montana, that's where we're going to begin work first because a big part of the challenge is trying to deploy, construct a new weapon system, but we have to keep Minuteman III online until the very end. So we're going to take down one section of missiles and go to work madly, furiously, deploying Sentinel, and then it's a big shell game about trying to keep as many weapons online as we can because the commander of U.S. STRATCOM needs those targets still held at risk. So in Montana, we have the benefit of having this land where we can get started without disrupting operations down here. So if you see headlines about activity and when to expect things in Montana, those early dates are probably talking about that region northwest of Great Falls, not down south here, or the missile field goes all the way down to Harleton, well past Lewistown in the east. So it's a massive missile field, nearly 14,000 square miles. But the early dates are going to be northwest because that's where we get started soonest. Speaking of dates, the public-facing number is that we would like to have the first missile online at one of the 3 bases in 2033. That first missile will probably be at F.E. Warren, is our sister base in Wyoming. Not here in Montana, but we're going to follow really, really quickly. So some number of months or short number of years after that, we'll have our first missile online, and it'll very likely be northwest of town in that deactivated squadron. There's 450 missiles across all the wings, so it's even if you do one a week, it's still going to take a really long time. So by the time we finish construction in Montana, we'll likely flow from the northwest down to the southeast and just work our way across. It's going to take a really, really long time. In the short term, what you can expect to see out in your county is I've already signed a good number of letters that are going out to landowners that own the land surrounding a silo or own the land on which we have easements for copper cables communicating between the missiles. So a lot of those letters have gone out already for survey activity. We are busy at work with that activity this summer and should be completing it next summer. So that letter just introduces my organization to the landowner, asks them to sign a right of entry. We have permanent access to a 16.5-foot easement where the cable is buried, but we're asking to have temporary access to more like 100 feet so that contractors can walk through the 100 feet to do cultural and environmental surveys. So there's close coordination with the landowner. They sign the letter, and then there's follow-up phone calls. The landowner can say, only on Saturdays because the rest of the time I'm at work in Helena and I want to unlock the gate for you. Like all of those details are very much fully supported by the contractor. So we can go back and forth and figure out the best way to get access to the land. We walk the land, and then next contact will probably be either because we need to buy a little bit more or coordination a few years down the road when it's time to start construction. There's a copper cable buried through all of those easements. About nearly 100% of the time, if you have a copper cable on your land, we're going to be installing a fiber optic cable right alongside it in the same easement. The construction method is still to be determined. So at F.E. Warren this summer, our sister base in Wyoming, they're doing a test pilot of construction methodology. So we're quickly figuring out how much horizontal directional drilling we can do is our preference really, because we can go fairly quickly. It is much less disturbance on the surface of the ground for the landowner, animals, crops, all that kind of thing. But we'll likely need a mix in general of horizontal drilling, trenching, and other technologies, other methods. So we're figuring out what that looks like at FE1 this summer. And then also just want to highlight, next summer we're going to do our first test launch out at Vandenberg. So the whole Sentinel missile will shoot downrange for 5,000 miles. That'll be pretty cool. So look forward to that. That's a sketch of the big picture. Because of how large the missile field is and just how few personnel we have, we really do depend on close relationships with the community. So we have great interaction between OSI, the Office of Special Investigation, and county sheriffs, city police departments. We're really relying on that relationship a lot so that landowners can keep calling their sheriff's department with, hey, this looks a little weird. I'm used to seeing some guys in a Humvee every once in a while, but now there's a dozen folks in a white pickup van. They've got beards and they're doing activity on my neighbor's land. Like, we want, if it looks suspicious, if it looks weird, we very much want those phone calls to go to local law enforcement. And they've got it's very quick to identify whether it's somebody working for us, a contractor for the Air Force, license plates, vehicle descriptions, driver's license numbers, whatever it is. We can we can clarify really quickly if it's one of our guys or if it's something that we should be concerned about. So it's going to look different over the next couple decades, and we don't want that to mean that people stop calling, if that makes sense. So great relationship through OSI with the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department. I hope that's true. We'll work on it if it's not, sir. And then I also want to highlight that Cascade County has a new employee that is a direct employee of Cascade County, but his name is Mr. Daniel Harrison. His job is to coordinate amongst all of the missile counties. We have 9 of them for this project. So his position is funded by an Old CC grant. Old CC is a federal acronym for Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. And his full-time job over the next year is to do a lot of assessments, working with each county to come up with reports, to write grant requests, to find gaps where the Sentinel program itself isn't paying for something, but there's a need. There's going to be a lot more human beings around. If there's second, third order effects that can't be covered by the Sentinel program outright, his job is to figure out what those are, what's shared amongst all of the counties, even talk to the sister wings and learn a best practice or a good idea that North Dakota has that might make sense for Lewis and Clark County, and figure out how you can get the resources. So like an example I use is a volunteer fire department up to this point in a rural area might have an MOU with Malmstrom Air Force Base, and they're ready to respond to somebody tripping and falling at a launch facility. That might look very different in terms of training and equipment to responding to 5 construction sites, major construction sites with cranes going on. So if there's an equipment need or if there's a training need for a fire department, I can't pay for that directly out of Sentinel, but it's a real valid need. And so you have a resource, happens to be at Cascade County just for the paperwork purposes, but he's here to support Lewis and Clark County as well. I will stop there for questions.
I guess one of the things that comes to my mind is I believe we have 10 missile sites in Lewis and Clark County plus a control center, I think you call it. Does you see those numbers changing much?
I don't. The overall number in Montana is going to stay the same right now. A future White House, a future Congress can, of course, change that. But right now, we're planning to have the same numbers of 150 launch silos. Because of the design of the weapon system, we don't need 15 launch control centers. We're going to only have 8. And I can get into the details of how that works. But I don't have memorized, but I can get you the information about whether we plan on having a launch center in your county. Overall, though, there's going to be a slight shift in that we're using the new sites in the deactivated squadron. So that means every time we put a missile in the deactivated squadron, we don't have to go back to one of the old ones. So the missile field is going to kind of shift westwards. That lets us not go back to a bunch of problematic sites that are buried under snow in the mountains or have water intrusion where the sump pump is running constantly and we're constantly have to replace it just because the water tables have moved. So we've got some sites we really don't like using and we get to avoid those. And then also we have some massive drive times towards the east, more than 3 hours, and we get to shrink the size of our missile field a little bit. So the trends of that shift won't really affect Lewis and Clark County. There might be one or two exceptions. I think I won't promise to share that information at this stage just because it's in flux and we're still changing things around. So I wouldn't want to mislead you, but there's a decent chance, and I can share whether we have a plan for a launch center within your county. Whether it's 10 or 9 or 11 launch centers, eventually it's going to be in that neighborhood. It's not going to change dramatically, but it could change by 1 or 2.
All right. And then another question is you've been great partners in helping us keep the roads in good shape to go out to those silos.
Yes, sir.
And the launch center. I assume that's going to continue.
It is. I'm glad to hear it. You're referring to the DAR program, or Defense Access Roads, where we've averaged $11 million across the 9 missile counties for maintenance of those roads annually to this point. That funding is going to have to get plussed up because we're going to have a bigger missile field for a while until we deactivate the sites that we're not going back to. So we're going to have to actually increase funding. Yes, the program will remain absolutely unchanged for the period of construction. So I'm choosing a random site, if you have Gulf 8 as a current launch facility, we're going to remove all of the Minuteman equipment from that and then turn the site over to a prime contractor that's going to do construction for some number of months, maybe more than a year. The condition of that road isn't going to be managed by that program exactly the entire time. It's going to be maintained by the contractor. So they might need different standards, higher standards. They might need to do work on the road to increase the standards to be good for construction, but it'll only improve during construction, except for the wear and tear that they put on it, but they're going to be in charge of maintaining it during the construction period. And then once the dust settles and it's an on-alert silo again, it'll be right back into the DART program. So yes, we intend to maintain them at high standards, and the long-term program won't change. In the short term, construction will be the theme.
Are there other questions? Commissioner Payne.
Thank you. I'm thinking about, I'm a rancher, by the way my head thinks, and I'm looking at that, and I'm concerned, is there an effort being made for reclamation of the sites that will no longer be used, but are still out there on somebody's ranch, and they've got 5 acres and a road, and now it's no longer useful to our country, and you guys clean that up? What becomes of the silos? Are they fixed?
Yes. So a good case study in how we did that was the deactivated squadron. So if you go up there, we had not intended to use it until very recently. So if you drove by it, you'd see a fence around what looks like a parking lot, and much of that below ground infrastructure was still there. The missile's gone. We pulled out all of the hazardous materials and the critical components and everything. It might be gravel, or I forget what we dumped into the silo, but we filled it up, we put a cap over the top, and so it's safe, but it's fenced. That's the configuration that we had left them in. Originally, we were also planning on selling it back to the farmer, but there's another squadron in Colorado or Wyoming where we did this. It was sold back to the landowner with the limitation of you can't drive over the top of it. There's still this stuff underneath the ground. For Montana right now, we don't have specific plans, and especially plans that we're going to share with the public for the sites we're not going back to. I think it's going to be in the hands of the Air Force for a very long time, if not forever. There's other needs to have land out hours away from a base other than having a silo there. So there's a chance that we might have forward deployed infrastructure. We might keep some of the missile alert facilities so that security forces can be posted out in the field. So there's other reasons why we might need the land, if not to preserve future options to increase the number. Lots of reasons why we might need the land. So I think that we'll be pretty hesitant to just turn it back over to the landowner, sell it back. I think we're going to hold on to it for a long time.
I can't even remember how long ago, but we had that adventure with the white balloon
Yes, ma'am.
going across Montana. And I think that reminded many of us of the importance of having these defense systems in place. And we may not like to think about it, but it is reality. So thank you for what you do, and we're all in this together.
Yes, that highlights that, I mean, there is international interest in this activity and in this program. And so that's what I was referring to when I said we want people calling, is we don't think everyone out there is friends of this program or friends of our progress. And so I would fully expect to have other people without the same interests as you and I to be knocking on doors, to be asking questions, to be taking pictures. And that's who I want identified, so that Office of Special Investigation, FBI, we can have folks out there, interview them, solve the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chair.
other questions? Commissioner Haddow.
Thanks. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate taking the time to come and talk to us, Lieutenant Colonel. Just one of the things I'm curious about, and I think the citizens that we represent will be, is that as you ramp up and get going, there'll be a lot of contractors, construction workers, a lot going on. I was going to ask about the roads, but you answered that very well. But a community, we'll take Augusta, for example, might be impacted with, from a housing perspective or traffic, restaurant, bars, all those kinds of things, and the impact of the community just having an influx of a lot of people that they may not be used to. And you may not have all the answers now. I'm sure that's still being developed, but what you kind of forecast and how we might help to work together to manage some of the unintended consequences. I'm sure the sheriff's thought of that as well, that there might be extra calls during those times and those kinds of things. But just speak to that a bit. Housing is one issue, and then all the other things that go along with a lot more people being in a community. So
Yes, sir. A frequent conversation at town halls and things like that. So we have put a lot of thought into it. I don't have really great specific answers, but it's not for lack of thinking about it or anticipating the problem. Those specific answers, this number of people in this location, are going to come when we have a prime construction contract in place, and that company has worked with the communities, gathered the information, done all of their math to really optimize this really challenging logistics problem of how do I get thousands of workers efficiently back to these remote sites over and over and over again for an extended period of time. So it's a challenging just logistics problem that the Air Force isn't going to solve. The contractor is going to solve that with our coordination, with our supervision. We got to agree to it. But they're the ones that are going to lead that process. In the next few months, I think, not the eventual construction contractor, but another one that's in place to study that problem is going to be reaching out to communities. So I think you're going to get contacted. I might be standing next to the contractor, or I might just know that they're reaching out directly to you, but they're going to be in touch to gather data to analyze that problem. Thank you for bringing it up. I definitely want people to understand that it's an analysis phase and it's a planning phase. So if a tiny little town gets a question about what does your water treatment look like, and the answer is, what water treatment? What are you talking about? That doesn't mean that 10,000 people are going to descend on that town. It means that they're gathering data. So it is a challenging problem. If you look at the original EIS, it's got some specifics in there about a workforce hub, is what we called it, in Lewistown and one in Great Falls. Since that, we're now using the deactivated squadron, so the bulk of the effort has shifted westwards, and a lot of the assumptions have changed. So that's why we're updating the EIS with the supplemental. I'm not exactly sure what the language in the supplemental is going to say. I don't think it's going to be as specific as naming locations. Even if it is, it's still, there are a lot of unknowns that go into that. So a lot of times the words in the environmental impact statement are kind of worst case scenario, or upper bound, we call it. So it's saying, we want the public to understand all of these options that we're thinking about at this stage and give us feedback about them. We're going to, in the end, go with one option. So I know, for example, comm towers were in the old one and are going to be in the new one. There's a great chance we don't need comm towers at all. It would be disruptive and we'd have to acquire more land for it. We're hoping we don't need to use comm towers, but you're going to see it in the supplemental EIS. So please take a look at that document. We'll inform you as best we can about the ideas we're having for workforce hubs, but we don't really know because the contractor doesn't know, and they're the ones that are going to lead that if we're going to have 0, 1, 2, or 10 small ones. But yes, the challenge is exactly as you describe. We're going to need a lot of beds somewhere for workforce to do the work, and how modular it is versus how permanent it is, which communities, a lot of that stuff is still TBD. I will add it. I spoke with a woman last night in Great Falls who remembered, she was from Gillette, Wyoming, and she remembered some negative consequences of the oil boom up there. We have a sister base in Minot, North Dakota, so we are very aware of what it looks like to have a temporary workforce surge into a community, and if it's not done right, the negative consequences. So those thoughts, those lessons learned are very much in our planning, and I'm very confident this workforce is going to be very different than some of those stories that you heard over there. It's got the federal government and the Department of War looking over their shoulder and breathing down their neck. So they're going to clean up when they leave is one difference compared to a private company that is only profit driven. And it's going to be, depending on various levels, it's going to be a cleared workforce. So some of them are going to have very high security clearances and background checks. And the least skilled, the person with the least access to classified information is still going to have some robust background checks and clearances that the workforce for the oil boom did not. So I think it's going to look pretty different, but we are very attentive to the risk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could, yeah, and I didn't want to frame it as all negative impacts because there's a lot of positive economic impacts that likely will come with this project. A lot of money coming into communities, potential infrastructure improvements, as well as, I mean, I suppose it could even happen that in some communities, some left behind permanent housing to help with the housing shortage could be post this project. So there is some potential for some really good things as well, but always with challenges.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin is balancing. If we just had a workforce hub with a fence around it and people go straight there from the airport and don't interact with the community at all, then there's no economic benefit as well. So we want to balance that in the needs of the community.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Any other commission questions? We offer the opportunity for the public if any members of the public have questions, comments. Any public comment? Seeing then, if you have some time to stay around, you gave me several of your cards. I've given them to Brandy, and members of the staff or the public want to contact you. We'll pass those out, let people know how to get a hold of you.
Please do.
And if you'd like to stay for the rest of our meeting and be available, if you have to leave, we understand that as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
The next item on our agenda is action item 4B, and I understand we need to change that the date on that. But what I'd like to do is check and see if anybody has come and wishes to make public comment on the Youth SnowSchool Program presentation. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? When we change the time for an official thing, we've noticed that the meeting, it was going to be presented today. We'd like to make that offer. Is there a motion to change the date on that?
Mr. Chair,
I would like move to postpone the hearing on the Youth SnowSchool Program presentation from today's date until our meeting on June 2nd.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? There being none, we've got motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now we're going to go on to the elected officials update, and I'd like to ask Amy Reeves to come forward. She has another meeting to get to here shortly, and I'll let her have her come and make her presentation. Again, if you'll state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, rest of the committee. My name is Amy Reeves, lives in Clark County, Treasurer, Clerk and Recorder, and Election Administrator. All right. Today, I would want to touch bases on our elections department. I wanted to highlight that one especially. We have some elections going on. We just completed our special district election, which we held the school election for them, but they canvassed their own. But right now, we have a lot of workers getting ready for the primary election. It's a midterm election this year, and it'll be held on June 2nd. Our office is open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I wanted to touch bases on a few things that have changed in the law recently. There was a lawsuit and an injunction, and I just wanted to make sure that the voters are aware of some of those changes. They can come in and register anytime up to the Monday before Election Day. Monday, we were only open until noon for registration, and then they can again come in on Tuesday and register from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., although I would encourage them to come in sooner. Last federal election we had 4-hour wait times. So just to make sure someone's not standing in line till midnight, I would encourage them to come on into our office early. We're available and we have people already coming in to register. So we'd like to help the community out there and have them, make use of their time so that they're not spending so much time in line. And the other thing that I wanted to touch bases on is we have our public test, which is the Friday before election. That's May 29th. That's held at 9 a.m. and it's open to the public if anybody wants to come and observe it. We are running test ballots through the machines and proving that the machines are coming out accurately so that the counts of the votes are accurate per candidate or per ballot issue. And that's, again, open to the public. We recertify Monday morning, do the same test again Monday morning. That will be at 8 a.m. And they're also, again, welcome to view that process, learn about it if they're interested. And then right after we're done with that process, we'll go right into counting the votes for the election. So we are counting Monday until approximately 5 p.m. And then we'll be counting again Tuesday morning. Just want to make sure everybody is aware and it's available. Again, if they can get those absentee ballots to us early, if you have an absentee ballot, you should have received it if you are an absentee voter. We mailed those out. You can return them to our office. They are due to us by 8 p.m. on election day. I would suggest if they're going to mail their ballot back that they do that before this Saturday. Generally speaking, it can take up to a week, if not longer, to reach us. So we want to make sure that those ballots are counted. Also, by returning them early, it allows us to get a hold of the voter if there's any issue so we can ensure that their votes are counted. Let's see. The other thing I would also want to mention is that an elector is able to go to myvoterpage.com or Google that. It takes you to the voter portal voterportal.mt.gov. That will allow the voter to tell if they're an active voter, meaning do they need to come in and register if they want to vote in this election or not. And then also it will tell them what precinct they're located in. The precincts are located on our county website. So if they don't know where their polling place is, if they are a polling place voter, they can find out that information. And again, I would also like to encourage them to, if they're an absentee voter, make sure that they sign their affirmation envelope and they need to put their birth year on there. Those are a new requirement is the birth year. So we want to make sure that that's included. My other offices or my other departments include our property tax department. And as you all know, property taxes are due really soon. So I want to touch bases there. The real estate bills will be due June 1st of this year instead of May 31st because May 31st falls on a weekend. And we had sent out those bills in late October, early November. They should receive them. A lot of people get confused. We do not send out a new bill just because of the cost. And then personal property tax bills will be mailed out soon. We are working on those diligently. And the mobile home bills have already been mailed out. They are, some of our residents are experiencing a higher rate of their mobile home bills, which has increased the cost. There is the homestead exemption that can be applied for through the Department of Revenue. There was a little bit of confusion, I believe, on this year. So the Department of Revenue will be offering rebates, or refunds, but I don't think those are happening until the beginning of 2027. Also, they should apply for the homestead exemption now so that it's available for their 2027 tax bill, whether they're mobile home or real estate. They have to be a primary resident. But anybody purchasing something new or moving into a new home, those homes have to be applied for to make sure that you get that exemption. It doesn't automatically move with the homeowner. It's per property, and when there's a change of ownership, then it has to be reapplied for. And then also on the DOR website, Department of Revenue's website, there is some property tax assistance that is out there. So I would encourage them to look at those options if that is something that they are needing or possibly eligible for. The other three departments I have are kind of rocking and rolling at this time of year. The other two departments, elections and property tax, are kind of busy. They're bombarded with multiple things, but accounting and records and our motor vehicle department are doing their normal stuff, whether it's things that happen daily, monthly, or yearly. Our accounting department is preparing for the fiscal year end. We are also preparing for our audit that will be coming shortly as soon as fiscal year end is over. We're assisting our school districts and our fire districts and our other special districts with our new software. They are dealing with new banking and new software to let them know where their balances are and their tax revenues and things like that. So we're working constantly with them to help them. And we are also in our departments learning our new system and helping get to do our new processes that might be a quarterly process or a yearly process. So we're still learning, but things are working out quite nicely. Our motor vehicle department has been live with their new system for a little over a year. We are seeing a lot of progress with that new system. It's helped our citizens. Our lines have gone way down. There's no longer the slow moments where the software was just taking time to catch up with the user. So that is very nice. Generally speaking, we've ran a few reports, and a transaction is taking between 3 to 5 minutes on average, which is a huge increase. Much progress was needed there. It was taking 15 minutes to 20 minutes at least before. So that is a very nice improvement our office has seen. I would encourage people to go to our website and look at the webcam if they're coming to visit the motor vehicle department. But for the most part, our wait times are between 10 minutes and a half an hour at the most. I expect them to be a little bit longer this summer as the activity of purchasing outdoor recreational vehicles and other vehicles is going to increase. It usually increases during the summer months. But again, I would encourage them to look at our website. Our office is open from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. in the motor vehicle department, which was a change that we had made. And they are able to come into the building at 7:30 and sit and wait. We will have someone look at their paperwork to make sure that they have everything so that they're not waiting, then finding out that they don't have everything they need. So we do have a check-in line, which has also been very successful. To have that person come in and make sure that they have all the documents they need instead of waiting and then finding out they don't have everything that's required. And our records department is continuing to work on indexing the records that were digitized. We're looking for some opportunities, whether it's going to be AI or software or something that can increase the efficiency of that. We have records from the 1800s all the way into like 1970s. So it's a lot of records to index. It would take our staff years to get it all completed. So we are looking at ways to make that faster so that all those digitized records are available. And that's all I have for today. Is there any questions for me?
I can't tell you how many people have stopped me on the street or caught me in the lobby and commented on how much easier it is to get their car licenses. With the extra staff you've put on and the remodeling that was done and the new computer, it seems like it's really made a big difference for folks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I will also say is that our old software that we had was extremely slow. It was, I think it probably caused a lot of stress for our employees. They had a customer who was, waiting and waiting and waiting because of how much time it took to help the other customers. The frustration level as a user would be very high because they wanted to help the customer, but the system was just so slow. It took so long to process anything. And, we always want computers to be instantaneous, and that system was not. Every button you pushed, it took a little bit of time, whether it was 15 seconds or 30 seconds to refresh the screen. So I think that we're also able to keep our employees a little bit longer. We're not seeing the turnover as much, which is really helping with the knowledge that our staff has and the assistance that they're able to give our customers. So I believe that has also helped our department hugely.
Is there any other comments?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Payne.
And this is a compliment to Amy Reeves, who is a public servant. But there was an elderly gentleman came up to my office, and he was not happy. Property taxes were, and he was really upset. His wife had died recently, and he was trying to get everything put together, so he was probably not at the top of his game. But he came to my office and said, they're charging me way too much on my property taxes. They're charging for more land than I own, and I want something done about it. I thought that was a reasonable thing to do. And he'd already been down to the property tax office, and they'd told him to go someplace else. And oftentimes our citizens find that very frustrating. However, I called downstairs. I thought it was downstairs. It went directly to Amy. And she said, well, why don't you put him in the elevator, and when he gets to the first floor, I will meet him at the elevator, and we will get this taken care of. And she did. And that man he called me, left me a message complimenting our county government on how you work to keep our people happy, our citizens happy. And I just felt like Amy went above and beyond what her elected duty really was. But I mean, he was important to all of us. And so thank you for taking care of that for us, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Payne. I did want to mention too, that was very good that you did mention that, because there is some grants out there for people who do have property taxes that they can't necessarily afford to pay. And we do have some information down in our office on that. There's a couple different grants that seem to be going throughout the years, and they get all the awards get given out, and a new grant seems to pop up. So we are able to direct our taxpayers not only to property tax assistance through the Department of Revenue and their programs, but there's also some grants that we're able to point those individuals to. So we want to make sure that our community is aware.
Mr. Chair, I guess I'll just pile on and just express my gratitude. You have a lot of balls in the air down there, and a lot of staff to corral, and a lot of interface with the public via property tax, elections, motor vehicles, and then you have essentially our local treasury. They're running the accounting for the county. So it's a lot, and it really has taken a turn for the better over the last time here with the motor vehicle improvements and the staff you have on board, and just the consistency that's come from it. So just grateful for the great work you do down there, and I'm glad I have my job and not yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you're there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Hunhausen.
Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here and giving us the update.
Thank you.
We have Sheriff Dutton here. If you'd like to give us a little update in the sheriff in your office.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, no. I wasn't expecting to give a report today, but I can include that into some of the things if you want to talk about what was on the agenda for the DNRC. So I didn't have a report, and sometimes going off the cuff and giving you a rendition is not necessarily in the best interest of the people sitting behind me. So with all due respect, I'll come back another time for that.
Sounds good. All right. Is there any question? All right. Any public comment about the sheriff's department? And I don't
It's the
see it.
sheriff's office.
Sheriff's office. Yes. All right. Is there any other comment? Do we have anyone else that would like to make a report? I don't see any. All right. Now we've changed the order. So the next item on the agenda are going to be the two items from emergency management. First item would have originally been item 4H, which is the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Kyle Sturgill-Simon with Emergency Management. Before you is the DNRC County Cooperative Fire Protection Agreement that is with the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation for cooperative fire protection. This is an updated agreement that was last signed by the board in 2011 that provides for cooperative fire protection between our local fire response agencies and the DNRC, including equipment, programs, and training. This is a lot of language from the DNRC, but the DNRC's fundamental intent in areas of county co-op fire protection is to build and maintain the capacity of local governments so that local firefighters routinely succeed on initial attack and avoid the need for state assistance. County co-op fire protection arrangement builds upon the fire suppression capacity of communities and local government. It has been a highly effective fire protection model in Montana for the past 50 plus years, and this success can be attributed to the partnerships and cooperation that exist across the state. Thousands of fires get contained and controlled each year without large-scale response by outside agencies. Local government fire agencies provide the primary initial attack, and in most cases, extended attack on wildland fires in their jurisdictions. In return for this service, cooperating counties receive DNRC support in the form of organizational and technical assistance and advice, fire training, equipment, and direct fire control assistance when needed. When a wildland fire exceeds the capacity of the county, assistance is requested and the DNRC will mobilize to assist, bringing to bear the considerable resources of the state, federal partners, and the interagency response system. This is all provided at no cost to the benefiting counties. The memo includes Montana Code annotated references in the agreement, and we recommend continuing participation in this cooperative fire protection agreement.
All right. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you. By way of background, this comes from Title 76 and 77. Also, you've delegated the Office of Sheriff under Title 7 to be the fire warden. Those duties are as follows: coordinate the fire protection actions within the county, advise, ensure the county commissioners are informed on changing fire conditions, and I think you've appointed Mr. Baltz was my contact generally. And I don't do the coordinating of training. The fire, rural fire does that. The agreement does have equipment that fire departments can get, and either aged out or different types of equipment that the fire service will have for fire protection. I sign that form as the fire warden. Also, when we have a delegation of authority, that is you to sign. And I also am a signer as fire warden, not as sheriff. I'm not allowed to delegate any authority of sheriff, but as fire warden and coordinating that, that would be one of the duties that I would be alongside with you. So I would urge you to sign this agreement, and it's very handy. That's my statement on that. They left, the lieutenant colonel's still here. I wanted to say I should have stood up in public comment about the cooperation between the Sentinel project and local law enforcement. I am on the executive board with the Montana Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. That's all 55 sheriffs. There's one elected chief. But in all those, I don't hear complaints about being left out of the information sharing with the state and local. The MATIC, I'm going to use the wrong acronym. It's MATIC, but it's Montana All Threat Intelligence Center. They changed it a little bit. Is constantly updated, and then they update the law enforcement partners. The Air Force has taken a lot of effort, and the OIS left. The investigations division reaches out to me personally to make sure we have updated information. If we have opportunities for education, that education is what to do when you find something suspicious. And if you're wondering, do we have foreign actors in Montana? Yes, we do. And they're trying to gather intelligence on the Sentinel project or existing missile bases. They have been around. Sometimes farmers and ranchers will call them in. What do you look for? What do you see? They have provided that training for us, because you don't stop everybody that's driving down the road. We're in a highly populated tourist area. But if you're a tourist and seem to be taking a lot of time taking pictures of a missile site, maybe there's something a little deeper to that. Plus, they've given us other training, given us other opportunities. It has been and is a good relationship. Briefings, I tell you, I probably slept better without those briefings, but I do appreciate knowing what's coming and our part of it, and to train our personnel about what to do, more importantly, what not to do. If you're wondering if the men and women of the United States Air Force are ready to protect the assets that are here, they are. They're training. They have a level of security that's impressive. And the part that I learned was what not to do. We have a position, we have a job to do, and God bless them, they don't need us butting in where we don't need to be. Because lives can be lost. They don't know. But what's impressive is they have an 18-year-old holding a fully automatic machine gun, being trained on something that means a difference between life or death to the United States, and standing guard, watching, making sure that's safe. So sorry I didn't give up in public comment, but I wanted to throw that comment out and say on behalf of the Office of Sheriff, thank you. And back to this one, please give it a due pass. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions from the?
I'll make a comment. I was kind of concerned about this contract, and some concerns about how can the county control an agreement with the fire districts when the fire districts are outside of the control of county. However, Kyle provided to me the Montana Code Annotated that is involved, and I read it and I thought, oh, yeah, okay, this will work fine. So thank you for providing that and addressing my concerns, and I'm ready to vote.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Do we have any public comment? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation as described by Kyle Sturgill Simon.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any discussion? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the item 4H, agreement between Lewis and Clark, approving agreement between Lewis and Clark County and the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, is explained by Kyle Sturgill Simon and Sheriff Dutton. Please say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion passes. Let's go on to the next item, item I. Again, with the Department of Emergency Services.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you again, Kyle Sturgill Simon, Emergency Management with Lewis and Clark County. All right, so this is a wildfire mitigation related action item. Emergency Management Program is asking that Lewis and Clark County amend task order number 3 under the agreement for the administration and management of hazardous fuels and fire mitigation projects for Lewis and Clark County. The period of performance for this task order currently ends on May 30th of this year. The project involves wildfire mitigation work done on private property. Unfortunately, lower than usual snow accumulation and an early onset of fire season has prevented contractors from safely doing the pile burning that is the final step in the mitigation efforts. Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group, which is our contractor in these regards, needs additional time for completing the project. We're asking that the board approve an amendment to the task order, changing the end of the period of performance to December 31st of 2026.
All right. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner Payne.
I think, what is the existing end date? I mean, we're changing the end date to December 31st of this year. What is it now?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, the current project end date for this task order is May 30th. So
Okay, so
next
obviously.
week.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing one, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the action item 4I, amendment number 2 to task order number 3 between Lewis and Clark County and the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group as presented by Mr. Sturgill Simon.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving amendment number 2 to task order number 3 between Lewis and Clark County and the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group is explained by Kyle Sturgill Simon. Please say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is a Lewis and Clark County DUI Task Force Annual Plan and Budget.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commission. My name is Jason Zander. I'm the Assistant Chief. I brought with me the local Buckle Up Coordinator, Tracie Kiesel. I'm the chairperson for the DUI Task Force, and while Tracie is the secretary, she's, as most of you know, the heart and soul of our organization. I don't want to take up too much of your time. We've been here in front of you several years now, going over our annual plan. We don't have a lot of changes to tell you about, but I will go through it very quickly. I, again, don't want to take up your time. As some of our stats have shown, and I'm sorry, we don't have nice, colorful graphs this year. The Department of Transportation has provided that for us, and they don't have any new graphs. So Tracie did a great job in just lining it out the best she could here for you. There's some stats in here that talk about some of the issues that we have had and are currently having with impaired drivers throughout not just Lewis and Clark County, but our state. We do remain among the highest in the nation of having this issue, and so we are still continuing to do what we can to address that. It shows in here some of our fatal crashes are still impaired drivers as well as unrestrained drivers. So those issues are still out there and part of our concerns. I'm going to go over to some of the things that we are doing and that what we are working on in our strategy. One of the first things on our list is that we support any legislation that is going to help strengthen DUI laws and consequences. And we also support, we rigorously support any primary seatbelt and safety seatbelt laws that the commissioner, the legislation would be looking at. We do everything we can to help support our prosecutors with prosecuting DUIs. And part of that, what we have done and will continue to do is help fund the summertime intern program at the county attorney's office for bringing in new attorneys. And that's been very helpful in the past. We've had several of our interns come and work as attorneys for the county commission or the county attorney's office. So we will continue with that. We do what we can with any kind of signage and visual trial technology that we can find throughout the summer things. I'm just going through the list here, so bear with me.
We are not in a hurry.
I understand that. Unfortunately, I've got a busy schedule today, so I apologize if you feel like I'm rushing. I'm happy to answer questions. Couple of things that we do just on a off note is we do put on a annual concert that is an alcohol-free family oriented concert. We do that annually. That helps for some fundraising that we do that continue with our efforts. We are continuing to provide some financial aid to the local agencies, all 4 agencies. We're glad that East Helena is back in our task force and participating, so we're back to providing them with some funding. We help with our local drug recognition experts and sending them to any training and certification so we can keep them up to speed. And we even have adopted a part of the highway out on 12 East, kind of in front of the auto mall, and we go out there and clean up garbage a couple times a year. And everybody here is welcome to join if they so choose. So with that being said, Tracie, unless you have anything to add, I am open to questions.
Are there questions from the commission? Commissioner Payne.
Thank you. Are you aware of any specific legislator who is going to help pursue the seatbelt law? Is somebody out there? We don't have any influence out the legislature, but there are people who do. Who is it and what can we do to encourage this?
I'm going to refer to Tracie. She is our local seatbelt expert.
Good morning, Chair Rolfe, Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Payne, for the question. We have a Butte fire captain who is also a legislator who is working on primary seatbelt legislation. He was the one who successfully just passed our enhanced car seat law this last legislative session, and his next step is looking at primary seatbelt. His name is Mark Lee out of Butte Fire Captain.
of course, politics never plays a part in any of our legislative actions. Do we have someone from another party who would be helping with this so that it has bipartisan support? Can we figure out somebody to help Representative Lee?
Commissioner Payne, I believe that there are ongoing conversations on both sides of the aisle, and there are many individuals around the state who are prepared to educate on that subject matter. But I do know that there are conversations going on both, supporting conversations on both sides of the aisle.
As a former lobbyist, I know you can get a lot of stuff done if you've got somebody on both sides of the aisle pushing this thing. Whereas if it is perceived as being, oh, you know how those Republicans are, or those Democrats, whatever. But I would be very interested in helping contact whichever side of the aisle needs to be contacted and get this moving. I have two adult grandchildren who have been involved in rollover crashes. One of my granddaughter's best friend was thrown out and the Suburban rolled over her. And within the last 30 days, my oldest grandson was thrown out of a car that rolled end over end 8 times. He is in intensive care in Billings. This is really important. So let me know what I can do to help. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Payne, for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear about that, and I will keep that in mind when I have contact with those individuals.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just want to comment. I remember when the seatbelt law first came out, when seatbelts were first put in cars, and it was not a hard thing for me. It wasn't until recently that I remember that as a child of maybe 5 or 6 years old, my dad had a business that had a wrecker, and we met the wrecker at the business after they were hauling in a head-on collision, and seeing the blood and the absolute mess and the body parts still laying out on the top hood of the car. There could have been a different story with seatbelts. So when it came time for me to drive, it was an easy thing to start wearing seatbelts, and it's a good habit that I think I've kept up for a long time. So would like to encourage that. All right. If there's no further comments from the commission or questions, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the Lewis and Clark County DUI Task Force Annual Plan and Budget as presented.
Second.
I'm sorry, I was thinking it was a plan and didn't realize that the budget is part of what we are approving here.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just a comment if we're at
Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you both and the whole team. I've had opportunity over the years to spend some time with you, and super dedicated. Tracie, thank you for all the years of service, and it's hard to get your new title, Assistant Chief Sanders. Yeah, thank you for the dedication. You really are dedicated to this and really care about these issues in our community, and I'm just very grateful for the work that you do. So thank you.
It must have powered off. Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Hunthausen. I would just like to point out, Chair Rolfe and Commissioners, that part of this approval today is our annual plan, our budget, our meeting calendar, our member contact list, and our bylaws. An update to our bylaws is in your packet as well. So all those items. And I brought the bylaws with Assistant Chief Zander's signature on 2 copies, which I'll give to Brandy. And she also has 2 copies of the cover page of our plan that we are required to submit to the Department of Transportation by June 1.
All right. Any further comments? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the Lewis and Clark County DUI Task Force Annual Plan and Budget is explained by Tracie Kiesel and Jason Sander. Please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is a bid opening.
Mr. Chair,
Oh.
I think you were hoping for, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Chair, but I think.
Chair, at least the signature on the cover page of the plan, I think that Commissioner Hunthausen handed
Okay.
to you.
It's here.
Yeah, and I think I've got copies of it here as well. So, all right, we'll get them.
I think she
If we
wanted
could
us to
take a
sign that.
copy and then you guys could keep a copy of just that cover page.
Okay. I'm going to pass these around. We can get them all done here.
Thank you.
I think there's extra copies here, maybe.
We can give that one to her.
There's the one that I think they're looking for, and then I'll put the rest of us with our packet. All right, let's move on to the bid opening.
Good morning, Commissioner, Chair, and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works and Planning Department Director. Today we have a bid opening for the Benchmark Road Gravel Load and Haul project. This project generally consists of loading and hauling 10,000 tons of currently owned, county-owned gravel that is stockpiled on a private property located near Augusta, Montana. The request is to have this load and haul of this gravel be placed closer to Benchmark Road for a project this summer that the County Road Department will do. So the bid is only for load and haul of the gravel that's already owned from the county. We received 2 bids. The first bid is from Valley Sand and Gravel of Helena, Montana. The bid appears to complete. It's been signed. The bid security has been provided. They have acknowledged the addendum. The unit price for the load and haul of stockpile gravel is $10.50 for a total bid amount of $105,000. The second bid is labeled Benchmark Load and Haul with a bid enclosed. I just want to make note that Article 1402 of the project manual of the bid requirement requires that the bid must be enclosed in a plainly marked package with a project title, and also the name of the address of the bidder must be accompanied with the information. So just making note that they don't know who this bid's from. I may, when I open it up, I may also have that information, but just wanted to indicate that that will be reviewed when we take it under advisement based upon the requirements of the project manual requirements. This bid is from TDS Enterprises LLC. of Cascade, Montana. It has been signed. The bid bond has been provided. They did acknowledge the addendum. The unit price for this bid is $12.45 for a total bid amount of $124,500. So, Mr. Chairman, as I indicated, I'd like to bring these back to my public works staff, have them review the bids, evaluate whether or not it meets the conditions of our project management requirements, and then provide a notice of bid award to you and come back to the Board of County Commissioners on June 4th meeting.
All right. Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing no public comment, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we allow the staff to take under advisement the two bids and look them over, make sure they're complete and appropriate, and then bring back the recommendation to us at our meeting on the June 4th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of referring the two bids received on the Benchmark Road Gravel Load and Haul project to staff and have them come back with a recommendation on our June 4th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is independent contractor contract between Lewis and Clark County and Gruber Excavating.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Before you this morning is a contract with Gruber Excavating to provide grading maintenance and related services within the American Bar Rural Improvement District. Work under this contract will be completed on or before July 1st, 2026, with an anticipated start date in June. The scope of this project will include adding gravel to repair an 1,800-foot section of American Bar Road and grading, watering, and compacting the new material into the existing roadway. This maintenance was solicited through a request for qualifications completed last May to create a roster of contractors to perform this type of work in various RIDs throughout Lewis and Clark County from May 2025 through May 2028. Because the value of this work is over $25,000, a separate contract is required to perform this work and requires commission approval. Staff recommend approval of the contract with Gruber Excavating for a total sum not to exceed $29,875.20 and authorize the chair to sign all applicable contract documents. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the independent contractor contract between Lewis and Clark County and Gruber Excavating as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the independent contractor contract between Lewis and Clark County and Gruber Excavating, presented by Jessica Makis. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2026-36 to adopt an alternative project delivery contract method pursuant to 18-2-502.
Good morning again, Chair, Commissioners. Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works and Planning Department Director. Lewis and Clark County received a Montana Historical Preservation Grant in the amount of $300,000 to replace and upgrade the existing four-stop elevator that services all floors in the county courthouse. That would include all the floors except for the attic. In addition, the project will add a single-floor freight elevator to run alongside the main elevator shaft from the third floor to the attic to provide secondary access for maintenance purposes and also for documentation, loading and hauling of records and documentation that's needed to be stored up there. The total project cost is estimated to be at $1 million, and the balance of the funding needed is budgeted in the fiscal year 27 Buildings Capital Improvement budget. This resolution justifies the need to conduct an alternative project delivery method. It's called the design build, rather than a standard design bid build process. Resolution 2026-36 replaces Resolution 2026-10, which you guys heard in February in its entirety. Working with our procurement department, we modified our solicitation to streamline the request for qualifications and request for proposal process. That then modified our Exhibit A of the resolution. And now Exhibit A clearly outlines the process and transparent approach for compliance with the alternative project delivery method. We hadn't done one of these type of design build projects at this type of solicitation beforehand. And what we're doing is we're doing one solicitation with both the RFQ, with the statement of qualifications review, and once we qualify and determine who's qualified, we will then open proposals and score and evaluate the proposals to select our contractor. So it's streamlining the process. It was just more complicated upfront with writing the RFP, RFQ requirements. The goal of the design build contract is to reduce the duration of construction to minimize the disruption to this public facility. So by having a design build contractor, they will not only be selected as a contractor to do the design elements of the project, but they will also move forward with construction of those activities. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Payne.
Jenny, this is not just a one-time amendment to a contract on one project. This is the way it will proceed on all other contracts of this nature, or am I misunderstanding?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, no, anytime we don't do a typical invitation for bid, like you saw that I just opened the bid documents, any project over $80,000, we do an invitation for bid and we hire a contractor to do that work. What typically that requires for a building facility project is that we have a solid design in place. We have an architect engineering firm, we have a design engineering consultant that puts together specifications of that bid and that design. So you do that first, and then you have your bid, and then you do a contractor. We're trying to streamline the process to do it all within one solicitation where we have a contractor that's familiar with this type of work. A lot of the elevator companies, they install elevators in buildings. We don't need to hire an architect engineering firm to install an elevator or design that when the elevator shaft already exists. There's a footprint that we need them to comply with. We need an elevator company that knows how to evaluate elevators and give us the best design for cost effectiveness and energy improvement and long-term operation. So we are soliciting for a company that can do this work, that has done this work similar at other public facilities across the state and country. So it just streamlines the process. It's unusual from a procurement standpoint. That's why we have to follow that statute and get your guys' permission to change the process that we have typically done by using this alternative design build approach.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Rogers, one more thing.
Sure.
Commissioner Payne, we have to justify, if you look on the resolution exhibits, we have to justify that we have the expertise at the Public Works Department, that we have knowledgeable staff and to do this work and perform the oversight of the construction activities. that we comply with the alternative procurement processes, which is that it will mitigate significant schedule ramification, that there's a need to streamline this process, which is we want to have less disruption at the courthouse facility, that there's technical complexities based upon being a historical building, that will have a transparent and proper process, that we won't encourage favoritism or bias in awarding this award. We're still following procurement laws and requirements and making this determination on who we still solicit for this type of activity. And it will not diminish competition on our contracting process. So this is not something that's going to be proposed for other projects moving forward. If we do, we will come back to you specifically to outline how we intend to meet those requirements moving forward.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
And Mr. Chairman, Roger might have additional to clarify.
Thank you. No, Jenny covered it perfectly. I just wanted to reiterate, this is specific for this project. It is not applicable to all other projects.
That was my question. So thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the commission? Seeing no further questions from the commission, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? I see no public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-36 to adopt an alternative project delivery contract method pursuant to subsection 18.2502 of the Montana Code Annotated, as presented by Jenny Chambers.
Second.
I see a motion and a second to the resolution 2026-36 to adopt an alternative project delivery contract method pursuant to 18-2-502 MCA as explained by Jenny Chambers. All those will move to a vote if there's no further questions, no further comments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. I'm going to just take a brief break right now, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Hunthausen. I have a personal appointment that I need to leave for, so I'm going to leave it in the able hands of the remaining commissioners.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
I can see this leading to trouble.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 4J, request for comments on a proposed court order division. Please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chairman Rolfe, before you leave, thank you for being here for the meeting. Crystal Nest Development Services Supervisor for Lewis and Clark County. This morning, we have an opportunity to provide comments on a verified complaint for partition of real property. Usually we see a verified petition for partition, but this is an actual complaint that one of the parties has filed against the others to ask the court to divide this property. The verified complaint for partition was filed pursuant to 70-29-101, and it's attached as Exhibit A to my staff report. Pursuant to 76-3-2013, they have notified the county of the pending division, and the Board of County Commissioners, as the governing body, has this opportunity to comment on this proposed division. The request is that Brian Buck, David Buck, Janice, and Charles Filcher own the real property located at 1490 Willie Buck Lane as joint tenants with right of survivorship. Plaintiff Brian Buck has requested the court to partition the property pursuant to 72-29-202. Court order division statutes allow the court to approve the sale or partition of real property upon requisite proofs being made in accordance with the respective rights of the parties. Plaintiff Brian Buck has alleged improvements constructed on the property have created disputes among the parties regarding the use and the ownership. Court order division is exempt from the Subdivision and Platting Act. It's also exempt from the Sanitation and Subdivisions Act. The property is located approximately 1.5 miles west of Lincoln, south of Highway 200. and south and west of Blackfoot Valley Ranch Road off Willie Buck Lane in Section 22, Township 14 North, Range 9 West. The verified petition seeks to divide the property into 3 parcels. The existing development and uses, this is a 9.99 acre parcel, currently has 2 address points on it. And there are 2 small cabins and 2 sheds on the property. And there's also a creek traversing the property from the northeast corner to the northwestern corner of the property. And there have been 2 septic permits issued for the property. One of them is for a seasonal holding tank. There's potential for high groundwater in the area that certainly may affect their ability to put in additional septic systems. Should the division be approved by the court, like I said, they won't be subject to the Sanitation and Subdivisions Act under DEQ for either septic systems or water. All proposed lots have access from Willie Buck Lane, which is an existing road not open to the public, and it is not maintained. The governing body may provide comment to the proposed court order division, and I've made a number of recommendations. This generally follows the recommendations that we usually recommend for court order divisions. A certified copy of the court's order should be recorded. Court's order should instruct the parties that a certificate of survey is required to be prepared pursuant to 763401. The court's order should instruct the parties that the certificate of survey shall comply with the administrative rules of Montana. The court's order should instruct the parties that the certificate of survey should show all access and utility easements created by the court order or as agreed to by the parties. Court's order should instruct the parties to execute the certificate of survey prior to filing, should instruct the parties to execute in each and every deed conveying the property pursuant to the approved distribution. And the court's order should instruct the parties the deed shall be recorded conveying the property pursuant to the approved distribution. And the court's order should instruct the parties future development of the property for residential use will require compliance with all other applicable state, county, local rules and regulations. And I'm here for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just to clarify for those that might be watching today and for the commission that our role is not to get into the middle of the dispute or the division. It is to make comment to the court if we so choose, and your recommended comments are here for our consideration on page 3 of the staff report, which you just read into the record, correct?
Commissioners, yes. Commissioner Hunthausen, that's correct.
Okay, great. Commissioner, any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I'm very concerned about this property. It's adjacent to a creek, but we will have no control over. Okay, we now have 2 septic permits. They're going to divide it into 4 lots. 3 lots. 3 lots. Are we going to need? I mean, what can we do about the septic system? Can we encourage the court to require one? Should a 3rd cabin be built? Or I mean, is there anything, or we just have to hope they do the right thing? But if their septic system impacts the creek, which impacts the water all the way down, are we leaving ourselves open to injury to other property owners?
Commissioner Payne, absolutely not. So the very last comment that I made shall instruct the parties future development will require compliance with applicable state, county, local rules and regulations. So they have to comply with all of environmental health's requirements for septic systems. I've looked at the septic permit for the holding tank on the northern part of this property, which has fairly close proximity to the creek. They will not approve a septic system at that site because they cannot get sufficient distance from the high water mark of that creek to install a drain field. So our local rules for environmental health for septic systems will take care of everything that we are allowed to take care of because DEQ doesn't get to look at this division.
So are you saying, I'm not familiar with the holding tank, but then they pump that out so the sewage is disposed of in some other manner, is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Payne, today's holding tanks are actually fairly sophisticated. They have high water alarms on them, so once the tank reaches a certain level, the alarm will go off in the house, and it will not go off until the tank's been pumped and it's been reset by the pumper.
Ooh, good. Okay.
And if I might also add, this is actually recreational property. That holding tank also has a restriction that limits the amount of days per year that cabin can actually be inhabited by virtue of the septic permit.
Okay, I think you have addressed my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you have addressed. I guess just to reiterate that just because, assuming the court accepts our recommendations, and because a property is divided, doesn't mean that it doesn't have to follow rules if there's pursuant of development. So, and if these recommendations are followed, they would have to follow every local, state, and applicable guideline and regulation, just like anybody else would. Right.
Commissioner Hunthausen, that's correct.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
How about public comment on this issue? Public comment. Any public comment? So, Commissioner Payne, we need
you want a motion?
Motion to make these recommended comments to the court. These 8 recommended comments to the court, please.
So moved.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded to make the recommended comments to the court. There are 8 of them as provided in the staff report. Any further discussion, Commissioner? Thank you for bringing this forward and explaining it so clearly. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. We're on to our next item, which Mr. Baltz will explain for us, board appointments.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is item 4K on the agenda today. You have the backup information in your packet, the memo that has been prepared by Brandy Grandy for us. I'll read it into the record. This is for the Consolidated Land Use Board. This is a 5-member board. This is a newly created board with 5 vacancies. Terms must be staggered. Shar Berenson, Adrian Cotton, Tony Quirini, Timothy Shankland, and Lori Young applied. Staff recommends that the commission consider Shar Berenson and Timothy Shankland to partial terms that will expire June 30, 2027, and consider Adrian Cotton, Tony Quirini, and Lori Young to terms that will expire June 30, 2028. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Payne, after questions, we'll take each person individually.
Each person. Okay.
Yeah, as recommended by the County Attorney's Office, I believe. Any questions this time?
No.
Okay, how about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Okay, Commissioner Payne, let's take each one individually.
Okay. Commissioner Hunthausen, I move that we approve the board appointment of Shar Berenson to the Consolidated Land Use Board. The position will run through June 30th, 2027.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve Shar Berenson to an appointment through June 30th, 2027. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next would be Timothy Shankland, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the appointment to the Consolidated Land Use Board of Timothy Shankland to partial term that will expire June 30th, 2027.
Second. Been moved and seconded to appoint Timothy Shankland. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next is Adrian Cotton.
Mr. Are you the chair now or is just a sub-chair?
At the moment, I'm the chair, I guess.
Okay.
Or you can call me the vice chair, whatever you want.
Chair of vice. Good. I like that. I move.
Hold on one
What-
second, Commissioner. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Commissioners. This was just something I was speaking with Mr. Murphy about over here. Did we indeed do public comment at the beginning of these items?
Yeah.
That's
did.
what I thought. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Do we need to do public comment at the beginning of each individual name? Yeah, I mean, there were
Each motion, we'll take public comment at each motion.
Yeah. Okay. So we did for Char Berenstain.
Yep, and as soon as you're done with this motion, I'll take public comment for Timothy.
And now we're on Timothy Shankland,
Correct.
and you're going to take public comment now.
Did you make the motion for Timothy Shanklin?
If I didn't, I'll do it again. Okay, I move that we approve the board appointment of Timothy Shankland to the Consolidated Land Use Board for a term that will expire June 30th, 2027.
Second. And if we didn't take public comment, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Okay. Commissioner, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now Adrian Cotton. So thank you for clarifying. Thanks, Mr. Baltz.
Okay. Might I move forward with my motion? That work for you?
Yeah, Adrian Cotton, any?
Yeah. I don't know if I made it or not. So I move that we approve
have
the
not.
board appointment. Adrian Cotton. We'll do it twice. Double it up. To the Consolidated Land Use Board for a partial term that will expire June 30th, 2028.
Second. And I guess for redundancy, we'll do any public comment on this item. I did take public comment on the overall issue prior, so on these individual motions, I don't know that we need to, but we'll do it anyway. Okay, there's been a motion and a second for Adrian Cotton to be appointed to the board through June 30th, 2028. Any further discussion, Commissioner?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Tony Carini.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the appointment of Tony Quirini to the Consolidated Land Use Board for a term that will expire June 30th, 2028.
Second. And any further public comment on this item? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And Lori Young, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the appointment of Lori Young to the Consolidated Land Use Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2028.
Second. Any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, we've taken care of that item. All are appointed appropriately. We're at that time in the meeting where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. Is there any public comment? Seeing no public present, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.